I have tons of questions, but I'll limit it to one. And my biggest fear is, how are you going to stop his big, beautiful, ugly bill?
Well, I mean, it is a terrible bill. This is actually, I was looking back over my 6 years of Congress, which feels like a lot longer than that, actually. And I was thinking about all the things I voted on, some of which I'm extremely proud of, things like the Safer Community Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, great things. And then I was thinking about the other things that I voted against, and I can say that this bill is actually the worst bill that I have ever seen, an omnibus global bill, in my entire time in Congress. And let me tell you why, just by the numbers, and then I'm going to tell you about my perspective on stopping it. It's going to add $3.2 trillion to the deficit. It's not paid for. It's going to have over $1 trillion in cuts of Medicaid, right? So you're not just cutting Medicaid for 13 million Americans, including 175,000 people in my district that I represent, but you're taking $1 trillion out of the healthcare system. Just think about what's going to happen. The hospitals, the clinics, the medical providers, whether you're on Medicaid or not, think about what that's going to do to the entire healthcare system of America, taking $1.1 trillion out of that system. It's going to cut $300 billion in SNAP cuts, right? So this is hungry children in our community, kids that go to school here, at this school and other schools. And get this, to give tax cuts largely for the top 1%. So it's going to give one for 1.2 million Americans. It's going to give more tax cuts to the top 1.2 million than to the bottom 127 million. Right? And if you're in the bottom 20%, you're going to see an average of a $90 tax cut before offsets for Medicaid and SNAP losses, which are going to put people deep in a hole. So this is an awful bill, and it's going to have terrible consequences. All Democrats in the House united against this bill and voted against it. And that's actually happened several times this cycle, where we have united against a bill, which is fairly uncommon, actually. So this is a point of pride for us. I'm going to continue to fight. I'm going to continue to communicate, because one of our biggest responsibilities right now is to communicate to as many people as possible, including people in areas that are represented by folks who are not doing town halls, people who are hiding from their constituents because they've supported this. And we have an obligation to reach out to those folks and to put pressure on those folks who are trying to hide from their responsibility. So that's my primary responsibility. And if it comes back to the House, of course, I will resist it again. So now over to the Senate.
Thank you. So the functional Senate that Jason's talking about, where did you go? Where is the person? Sorry. Thanks for the question. It's on the minds of lots and lots of people. First of all, I'm not going to repeat anything Jason said. I'll agree with everything that he said. Where are we living as a country on these economic questions? That's really important to understand, because Trump is the cause of many, many problems. I blame him for many, many things. But I think fundamentally he's also a symptom of a very important problem in America, which is the lack of economic mobility that we have in this country, the profound income inequality we have in this country. I could give you a bunch of statistics, but let me just give you this one. You know, today as we're here, the top 1% of Americans own 50% of the value of the stock market. The bottom 50% of Americans own 1% of the value of the stock market. That's not how it looked 20 years ago. You know, for the American people, there's a real feeling that no matter how hard they work, their kids aren't going to do better than they are, and there's a lot of evidence that that's the case. 50% of 30-year-olds today are going to make less income than their parents, and if you're a young man in your 20s in America today, you're making less on average than you did in the 1970s. What is Donald Trump's answer to that? To give big tax breaks to the richest people and to cut the most significant safety net we have in America. I was in Grand Junction recently with a Republican congressman that serves in Colorado, and we were with all of the healthcare providers from all over the western slope of Colorado. These are red areas of Colorado where Medicaid it truly is, you know, keeping the lights on in the hospitals there, truly keeping the lights on in the clinics there. And the people there were saying, we already don't have OB services, for example. We already have to send people to Denver because we've had to close, you know, not emergency rooms, but primary care or mental care. I mean, there's mental health care. There's all kinds of stuff. That's before Trump does the cuts to Medicaid. So we're going to do everything we can to fight this in the Senate. And there are disagreements among the Republicans right now about what they want to do. I think ultimately Donald Trump could care less about whether or not he preserves Medicaid. I think he's going to actually try to cut Medicaid, and I think it is very likely that he will be able to ram it through. Jason said he wanted to be honest. I want to be honest. There are 53 votes probably. But we have to fight and try and see if we can shame them into not doing it. There are a whole bunch of really important climate provisions that are being reversed, that are really important to Colorado, that are really important to rural Colorado, our wind and solar industries that matter to Republican senators, or at least used to before Donald Trump made them all walk out on the very first day they were there and vote for Pete Hegseth to be the Secretary of Defense. I mean, he did that for a reason, and the reason was to show everybody in America who's the boss, who's in charge, what he can actually get them to do. But I think that the debate that we're going to have is really important in and of itself because it will demonstrate to the American people that Trump is actually making matters worse, you know, now that he's there. Not a big surprise, but that is what he's doing. And then the last point I want to make is this. We're in a fight to save Medicaid when what we need to be in is a fight to have universal health care in this country. And universal mental health care in this country, and we can't lose sight of that.